I'm Sam. Welcome to Baseline Unknown. Baseline Unknown will be showing you the most raw and real parts of being chronically ill. We will do our best to add every trigger warning necessary, but it is possible that we could miss something. Please proceed with caution and stop engaging if certain topics begin to trigger you. Your mental and physical health is what matters most. If you are not ready for this type of content, please listen to your body and come back when you are ready. Nothing stated by Baseline Unknown or Winner to Champion will ever be medical advice. Always consult your providers and care teams before adding anything to your self-care routine. Episode 2 of Baseline Unknown, Living Undiagnosed, will be out Thursday, February 5th, 2026 at 12 a.m. Eastern Time. And these videos, I'm going to have 4 of them, are going to be in-depth explanations of the resources that I provide in that video. The first one we're going to go over is my daily tracker and how I track all of my symptoms. It's really hard to just get started, so that's why all of these resources are free and you can download them, you can use them as templates, you can print them, do whatever you want with them. And they are all linked in my Linktree, bio, and the caption. I'll show you a few different options of how you could use this resource. First one, plain and easy, if you have access to a printer or a library or a computer, you can print this out and you can use it just as it is, but you'd have to reprint as many days are in the month, which I know that that's not really practical. However, if you want to do that, you can put hole punches in this to put it in a binder. You could also just get a notebook and use it as a template and write everything down. Your other option is you can download the PDFs into GoodNotes or any comparable app where you can just write here in the boxes. If you use GoodNotes as your note-taking app, you can use this as a template in order to organize yourself. So I'm gonna go over exactly what I do when I'm tracking all of my symptoms, and I'm gonna try to have visuals up for you so that you can see, because I'm just obviously looking down and it's hard to show. What I have is daily tracker. What happened today? I go over a brief explanation of the events during the day, what I did, how I felt, and just any general thought. And sometimes I fill this out throughout the day. Most of the time it's before bed though. And then I also have a separate spot for an illness update, because there's always different symptoms that I'm experiencing, or an update with doctors, whatever. I can put just a brief explanation there. If there's nothing, just put no update. Next, we've got symptom severeness. I normally will put out of 10, 0 being nothing, 10 being the absolute worst. And then I will write out which symptoms affected me most that day, why I think they affected me, if I started any new medications, anything that could lead to my symptom severeness changing. Next, we've got pain severeness. The reason I put pain separately is because you can have a high pain day without having a high symptom day. And I know that pain is a symptom, but when you're in chronic pain, a lot of time pain is a separate entity. Again, the scale is 0 to 10. 0 is no pain, 10 is worst pain absolutely imaginable. For people with chronic pain, it's difficult to use this scale. My base pain is about 2 or 3, so I'll kind of just add on top of that. But when you're going to a doctor's office, don't just say I'm at a 12 pain, because they're not going to understand that you're in chronic pain. So explain to them that you are at a 3 pain most of the time, and add on if you're having excessive pain from that point of reference. Then there's another box that you can put any notes that you want from that. Most of the time I don't use that. I just put my pain for that day, and if there is anything significant, I'll put it in the next box. Then I have a section where I put the main symptoms that affected me that day in bullet points so that they're easy to see. If I had fatigue worse that day, or if I had a migraine that day, anything that you feel is the most significant for that day. I normally use this scale in order to track my stool. You'd be surprised how much you can learn from tracking your stool. I also put if I had pain, if there was blood, what type it was, how many times in a day. When you have such fluctuation, it's really good to keep track of all of those things. The next thing is for people with a uterus. I track each phase of my menstrual cycle. There's a lot more information on the PDF about all of these things and kind of how I view my menstrual cycle. This video would be too long if I went into all of that. I track if I'm in my menstrual phase, my luteal phase, my follicular phase, or my ovulatory phase. Reference the PDF if you have more questions about that, but also please talk to your doctors about these things if you have extra questions. And then I also do track my blood pressure. Sometimes when I'm home, I'm not tracking it as much. If I'm feeling a fluctuation, I'll track it, but I get it done at least 2 days a week when I'm at the hospital. A little bit of a trigger warning, I'm going to talk about food. If you have past issues with an eating disorder or you have a bad relationship with food, there is no reason for you to be tracking your food. If tracking your food is going to trigger you or send you into a flare of that type, I would skip it until you are ready to be able to handle that. And that is completely okay. You do not need to do that. I didn't for a while and now I feel comfortable doing it. The reason that I track my food is because I have mast cell activation syndrome where I react very heavily to almost any food that I eat. Tracking my food and being very specific about what symptoms I had after what I ate has been the only way I've been able to figure out the things that I'm allergic to or the things that make my mast cell activation syndrome flare up. I will track breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. I will put next to it if it was gluten-free, if it wasn't gluten-free, if it was dairy-free, all of these things. Now I'm trying to eat as many whole foods as possible so I won't have as many of those variations that I need to put next to it. Being as specific as possible has really helped me look back on days, why am I feeling this way today? And then you go back, you see, oh, because I had something that could have flared me. It's a really good way to help you determine what you can eat and what you can't eat. And I know it can be really, really stressful because a lot of times I feel like no matter what I eat, I feel sick. And that might be your reality, but it's still good to track and it's still data that you can use to speak with your providers about and for you to understand your daily life a little bit better. And then there's just a spot for extra notes, extra things that you want to talk about, where I just left that open for you guys. That's pretty much the basic of how I track daily. I used to do it in a journal. For example, this is kind of what it looked like. This is stool tracking and I did all the colors and everything. Once I started declining in my health, I couldn't sit and create every page. It was just too much. The main form of tracking I use now is on Notion. I basically have this exact template. I track the exact same way. It's just a little bit different. It's online. It's easier for me because of writing. It really hurts my hands. So there are multiple ways that you can track everything that you want to. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Again, these resources are free. You can download them into any app. Please read all the triggers that I have on the PDF. There is more in-depth explanations on each sheet. There is an example sheet before the blank sheet. Hopefully this can help you recognize more symptoms and help you feel more confident in knowing what triggers you and what doesn't. There are 3 other resources that I've made for you guys, so check out those videos. I will have them linked below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The second episode of Baseline Unknown will be out Thursday, February 5th. If you want to check that out, it will have more talk about living undiagnosed in that video. Okay, bye. Love you.